We have talked about the two-headed muscle, which was the bicep brachii muscle, which was the muscle of anterior compartment. Now let's talk about the tricep muscle, which is a muscle of posterior compartment, which has three heads. As I told you, bi means two and tri means three. You can remember this muscle as a three-headed monster. Well, it has three heads: the long head, the medial head, and the lateral head. You can remember this muscle as a three-headed monster. So these three heads are the long head, the lateral head, and the medial head. Origin of the long head is from the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula. Then we have the origin of the lateral head, which is from the lateral and posterior surface of the humerus above, which is superior, the radial groove. Now, origin of the medial head, which is from the posterior surfaces of the humerus, inferior to the radial groove, and from the medial intermuscular septum. You must note that these three heads of triceps converge into one tendon and joins to the olecranon fossa of the ulna. Okay, so the lateral head is used for movements which have high intensity force, while the medial head enables more precise low force movements. Now let us look at these one by one. So, starting off with the long head, it has origin on the scapula. The long head helps to stabilize the shoulder joint. The superior portion of the long head of tricep is covered by the deltoid muscle. So, it is involved in the adduction of the arm. When you extend your elbow like this, you can easily palpate the long head of the tricep as an elevation here. You can feel that it is the medial to the deltoid muscle. Now, if we talk about the insertion of tricep muscle, it joins in a tendon and attaches to the posterior surface of the olecranon process of ulna, capsule of the elbow joint, and antebrachial fascia. Now, as the long head of triceps descends, it passes through the wedge-shaped interval between the teres major and teres minor, which are the muscles of pectoral region and the humerus bone. This passage basically creates three distinct anatomical spaces, which can be labeled as the upper triangular space, the lower triangular space, and the quadrangular space. All these spaces allow the passage of certain arteries and veins. Why don't we take a deeper look at this? The upper triangular space is bounded superiorly by teres minor, inferiorly by teres major, and the long head of triceps laterally. This space allows the passage of the circumflex scapular artery and vein from the axillary region to the scapular region. The lower triangular space, also called the triangular interval, is bounded superiorly by the teres major, the long head of tricep medially, and the humerus laterally. This space is a channel between the posterior and interior compartments of the arm and allows passage of the radial nerve and the deep brachial vessels. Now we have the quadrangular space. The quadrangular space is a horizontal cleft or tunnel bordered by the teres minor superiorly, teres major inferiorly, and long head of triceps medially, and the neck of humerus laterally. This space allowed the axillary nerve and the posterior circumflex humeral artery and vein to pass from the axillary region to the posterior region of the shoulder. These spaces may seem a bit difficult to remember, so here is a trick to understand it. Let's make a double victory sign. Now first the teres muscle, as the major is heavier, so sunken lower down and placed inferiorly, and minor above it. Second, the tricep head, as it is longest, represented by the long finger, and it is supposed to be the humerus. We arrange it like this. Now focus on the spaces between these muscles. Two are triangular. This is upper triangle space and the lower triangular space. Then the third one is quadrangular in shape, which is known as the quadrangular space. So remember two victory signs? We are going to do it like this and form this shape. Now as you can see, three spaces. This is the quadrangular space, as I told you before, and these are two triangles, as I told you before. So these are the spaces. So the chief action of tricep muscle is extension and strengthening of the arm. What does it do? It extends the arm at elbow. It also fixates the elbow joint when the forearm and the hand are used for movements. Fine movements like writing. So, as we have talked about the agonist and antagonistic muscles before, let's discuss these muscles. In the arm, the biceps brachii and the tricep work as pairs, known as antagonistic muscles. They are opposite to each other. You must note that we usually use these terms in movies. For example, the hero is the agonist and the villain is the antagonist. Similarly, the agonist muscles are those that performs the task, and their opposite muscles are antagonistic muscles. For example, during flexion, if bicep brachii is contracting, which makes it agonist, then the tricep muscle, which is the opposite of bicep muscle, it is the antagonist, which means it's lengthening. And these muscles also acts as vice versa. So that was all about tricep muscle. Just have a recap of all of these muscles. Do you remember which muscles were involved in the anterior compartment? We had three muscles: the biceps brachii, the coracobrachialis, and the brachialis muscle. And in the posterior compartment, we had one muscle, which was the tricep muscle. So, the muscles in the anterior compartment were the flexor muscles, and the posterior compartment muscles were the extensor muscles. Together, they all play an important role in movement of the arm. So, I hope I taught you well about the muscles of the arm. In the further lectures, we are going to discuss the muscles of the forearm and the muscles of the hand. Stay tuned.